Hey guys, what's going on? This is Andrew here today, and we're going to be showing some pickups that I got from this website called Neokyo, which is basically a Japanese Mercari as it was explained to me by a friend. So, don't know if it's linked to Mercari, don't really know exactly how it works, but I just know it's a Japanese marketplace, and they have some pretty cool stuff on there, including video games. So, the thing with the site is, it is extremely dirt cheap. The American dollar weighs so much more than yen over there, and they kind of want that currency in their system. So a lot of times this stuff can be extremely dirt cheap to the point where this entire haul of two consoles and 10 games today was only $60. And that's saying a lot considering one of the consoles in this haul, if you were to get it in the US, would cost more than this entire haul by at least double. So there's a lot here, a lot of cool stuff, and we're going to get right into this. Basically, I'm going to explain a little bit before I jump into this. The shipping was about $30, but me and my friend both got stuff, so we split the shipping and did it under one transaction so that we didn't have to pay a premium on shipping. So $60 was actually what was include. How do I say it? $60 is with shipping as well. Like this is what we're talking. We're talking all together. This was $60 even with the shipping for what I paid. I'm combining the $15 in there. So if that doesn't say a lot, I honestly don't know what to say. So there's a lot here. Can't wait to show it off. Let's get right into it. All right. So the two consoles that I got from Neokyo were the original Famicom console and the Super Famicom console. By the way, guys, these were both bundled with games, which is how I ended up with 10 games in this haul. I didn't buy those separately. So, like I said, altogether $60. That's cheap as all hell. So, with the original Famicom, I'm probably just going to keep this in my closet just because I want it as a collector's item. It's not in the greatest shape, but it at least does play games. But I already have an NES with that adapter for the Famicom games. So, at that point, I'm just going to use the NES for that and keep this as a collector's item since I've always wanted to have the original Famicom in my collection. As for the Super Nintendo, or the Super Famicom as I should say, I'm going to be using this as my main Super Nintendo console for now, because every Super Nintendo console I've tried to get my hands on for a really good deal, they've always ended up broken. I finally got this so that I can, play my Super Nintendo games on it, and I believe this is honestly what I'm going to be using as my main console for Super Nintendo for a while until I can find an actual Super Nintendo somewhere down the line for sub $100 that's actually going to be functional. So I got these two right here. I'm pretty excited to boot them up. I have a lot of Super Nintendo games, and now I have a ton of Super Famicom and Famicom games because of the bundle that it came with. So without further ado, guys, let's look at some of that stuff as well. So with some of these games, I don't know the titles of them because they're in Japanese, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce these or even attempt to look them up because at that point, it would just be impossible for me. I can probably have my friend translate, and maybe I'll rewrite it in the description for what the titles are, since my friend knows a decent bit of Japanese, and is the reason that I was on this website. But yeah, let's start off with Famicom. We got Super Mario Bros. 3, which I also have on the NES, but I love to play the Famicom version of this just because it's the Japanese version. But had this on the NES, absolutely loved it. I think my favorite one has to be Mario Bros. 2 though, but Mario Bros. 3 is a fun game for everybody, and man, I can't wait to go and pop this one in and play this version of it to see what the differences are. So we also got this game that I'm not even going to try to pronounce. If you guys know the name of it, just let me know in the description. I'm not even going to, comment section I should say. I'm not even going to try to pronounce this one. Then we've got this one right here, which, is this Galaga? No, I can't even tell. No, it's not Galaga. It says something, but something I'm never going to be able to understand. But if you guys know what this is, like I said, just let me know down below. And then this one looks to be an educational game. It looks like, yeah, I have no idea what this one will be either. But yeah, the only one of this list that I know is the Super Mario Bros. 3. And honestly, at this point, that means I just have to go into these games blind and see how fun they are. I'm probably not going to be able to understand them, but I will have to figure out somewhere down the line what these games titles mean, just because I know nothing about Japanese. My friend wants to teach me. Maybe one day I'll actually take him up on that offer so I can read these titles without having to look them up. Moving on to Super Famicom, we have a few games I already kind of had in the collection, but ones that I wanted the Japanese versions of anyway. This one is Donkey Kong Country 2, which actually, I don't even think I had Donkey Kong Country 2 for the Super Nintendo to begin with, so at least now I have this one, because I know I had 1 and 3. I might have two. I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure. Well, actually, no, I do have two now that I remember. But regardless, we have it now for the Super Famicom as well. I'm not really actively collecting for the Famicom as I'm mainly looking for the North American stuff. But having some of this is pretty cool to have in the collection regardless. It's just stuff that I'm going to have on the side that I'm going to end up playing as well. We've also got a game like I said, don't know the title to, but it says Taito on the front. Maybe you guys know what this is. I honestly have no idea. We have this game right here called Magic Adventure, which, like I said, I don't know if that's the full title, but it just says Magic Adventure on the front. One that I can finally recognize, we got Super Bomberman 5, and we also, for a Bomberman game, got Super Bomberman 3 as well. So we have 3 and 5 for the Super Famicom. And then, last but not least, we have Something 2, because I can't read the title of that. But on top of that, we've also got the manual for it, so that's pretty cool. The guy ended up sending me the manual with the game itself, which is pretty cool. So that's pretty much all of the stuff that we got in this haul. So let's get into my next topic of this video, because this really needs to be addressed. Alright, so this is something I wasn't really sure how to address, and I was going to make a separate video about it, but I figured since this video is short enough, I might as well just throw it in there and kind of just discuss it from there. So I have kind of gone off the deep end, as you guys can see. I have gotten way too many consoles, way too many games lately, and if you can see back there, my guitar collection has now doubled. So I have to admit that these past few months to this past year has probably been the worst year of my life. Depression-wise, anxiety-wise, mental health-wise, just everything all over the place has come crashing down within the past year, and I think because of that, I have used collecting as a coping skill, and where back then I was using it positively by getting games and playing them, a lot of times now I'm just getting a load of games, throwing them on my shelf, and my completion rate of games probably went anywhere from 50 to 60% when I started recollecting in 2020. It's probably now down to like 5% because of how many games I've added to this collection over the past year and a half. Amount of consoles I've added to this collection in a year and a half. Back then, if I get a console, dude, I would put that thing right up to the TV and play it for hours right away because it'd be something exciting. Where now, getting these consoles, it doesn't feel nearly as exciting because I just keep doing it and doing it and doing it. Now, my goal is to somewhere in the future open up a retro game store. That still stands true, but I don't know if it's ever going to happen. So I can't keep just spending all this money as a coping skill, and I can't use the excuse that I'm going to open up a retro game store because we don't know if that retro game store is ever going to be a thing. I have enough doubles now to where I have enough inventory pretty much to open up a store, but the whole thing is I'm actually also studying to be a game developer, so I don't think that I'm going to be able to do this store within the next 10 years. It's probably going to be 20 or 30 years, and that's saying that there's still going to be a market of people that are collecting these retro games because you don't know where this industry can be in the next 30 years. That's the scary part about all this. So I think for the time being, I'm going to have to take a little bit of a break from game collecting. I'm still going to get games I want to play, at least do the healthy thing for buying games, but in terms of collecting, buying things for my collection, I think I'm going to stay away from that for the foreseeable future, maybe for the next few months, maybe until at least the holiday season, at the very least. But knowing me, I'm probably not going to be able to fully commit to that, but I'm hoping that setting this precedent, saying it in this video, will hopefully lay the groundwork for me and just have me follow it from this point forward. So, not exactly sure when I'm going to go back to game collecting. Not exactly sure if I'm literally going to forget about that I just said this tomorrow and get a haul of games, but I'm really hoping that I can use other ways to cope rather than just going and getting a ton of retro games. One thing I will still be doing is because I work at GameStop, if a customer comes in with stuff that we don't take, I will still offer stuff for it even if I own it. Just as long as I can get it for free or if I can get it for really cheap to where it's a no-brainer. So that's pretty much where I stand for now. The only way that I'm really going to be buying games at this point is if they're games I actually want to play, not just games I'm going to throw on the shelf and be like, oh yeah, I have the game now, and I'm going to play it someday. So that's that. Not sure if this was the best way to address this, if I should have said this in like a community post or a separate video, but I felt like now was the time to address this because had a lot of things happen recently that honestly broke all the way down to this point, and basically I have some credit card debt. So yeah, don't do what I did. I advise all collectors around, if you're going to be collecting games, do it only if you're able to sustain it, or get games that you really want to play rather than just adding games to a collection. Unless you find them really, really cheap and it's a no-brainer. That's a whole different thing. But don't do it as much as I did. If you see all these videos on this channel, you know how much I've done it. And at some point I blacked out, and there are certain times where I'll buy a ton of stuff and I'll completely forget about it, and I'll get sent surprises in the mail. So bottom line is, don't be like me. Be a lot smarter. I honestly think that there's a lot of growing up I still have to do. So anyway, guys, that's it. Thank you if you watched this far. I will see you all in the next video, which I'm not sure what kind of video it's going to be since it's no longer going to be a pickups video.